How's it going, guys? Good to be here. Autistic Minds Live 2024. Woo! I was here last year and it was like in a very similar room and it was just so hot and I feel like the temperature's rising already, so probably going to be the same issue. But yeah, I was actually supposed to do this presentation with a friend of mine and kind of like my assistant, a guy called Alex, who's an absolute nut job. He's awesome. He has ADHD and we just are crazy together. It's awesome. But he travels the world with me. We do keynote speeches all over the place. And in fact, 2 weeks ago today, I was in Canada doing my first ever event myself. I hosted an event similar to this in Canada. It was crazy good. Me and Alex did the talk. It was awesome. So it's nice to be doing more of these things. And I'm in Cumbrain next week for something similar. And yeah, it just gets crazy. And then we're in LA. Me and Alex in LA in July doing something called VidCon, which is basically a video conference for social media influencers. So what I'm going to do is get into a little bit about who I am, what I do and why I do it and stuff. And we're going to talk some fun things about PDA, ADHD, autism, and all that fun things in between. Okay, so my name is Dan Jones, as the gentleman has said, or TheAspieWorld. Look at that picture. God, give me stern face, isn't it? My editor was like, I need a picture for a thumbnail. I was like, okay. And he's like, okay, that'll do. So that's why that picture's there. And I had to change it because it was me and Alex in the telephone booth doing this. But now it's just that. So it's less fun. I'm not that serious all the time. Although people do say, right? Everyone's like, you're so serious. Why is your serious face on? I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, are we watching the comedy like this? And everyone's like, are you laughing? I'm like, yeah, internally. Anyway, so Dan Jones, but you can find me at TheAspieWorld.com, which is the name of my business, or Tau Media. And you can actually follow me on any social media platform, and my email address is there. And this is really important. If you have a question, if you want to ask me anything, you can email me anytime. I read and respond to every single email I get. And the same with my social media DMs, comments, and stuff like that. I have over 600,000 followers across all social media platforms. And I do get back to every single person because it's super important, right? This isn't just a thing where it's not money making, it's about impact making, right? So this is what I do. So my name is Dan Jones. TheAspieWorld is my online pseudonym. A lot of people have an issue with it, but I don't care. Literally, use the term Asperger's syndrome. It doesn't hurt anyone. Actually, in actual fact, just a statement of advice, right? Actually, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome in 2013 before the DSM changed it. Nothing to do with Hans Asperger, potentially have a collaboration with Nazis. There's actually a paper published in 2018, which kind of tried to loosely link him to Nazi-occupied Vienna and all this kind of stuff. But if you want an in-depth, detailed breakdown of that, I did it. 26-minute video on my YouTube channel, which just disappeared, which you can get if you go to youtube.com, and I have no idea what's going on with this. Yeah, because it's not mine, so go ahead. I'm not even open this, so oh, there you go. Yeah, if you go to youtube.com and then just type in TheAspieWorld and then Hans Asperger, you'll see my video on it. It's very important that everybody sees that. Where it's interesting. Nobody reads about the paper. They just hear something, go with hyperhysteria, and they say, you can't use the term Aspie or Asperger's because it's Nazi. It's absolute nonsense. He wasn't a Nazi at all. Watch the video. I even share the screen when I go through the document. Anyway, enough about politics. So that's what I do. I'm a YouTuber. That's where I started. I started making video influencing videos back in 2013. Oh my goodness. But I didn't take it seriously until 2017, where YouTube were like, hey, here's a bunch of money. Your channel's pretty cool. I was like, oh, okay. And then they bought me some equipment, and then it kind of like just cascaded upwards from there. And so I've done many things. I have 2 books out. My latest book, Autism for Adults, came out in Hay House and Penguin Random House. Available everywhere. Went to #1 in the UK, US, and Canada. Sold out crazy in Canada. You can even buy the thing in Canada. It was just never in stock. Really cool. Love doing it. Again, this is not for profit. It's for impact, right? I don't make money. I make impact. This is what I do. I'm on a mission. I'm on a crazy mission to change the world in how we understand autism and the lives of autistic people, because I want to urge them towards existence, not just barely being alive. Okay, we have so much potential to do, and we need to do amazing things. And the world was built by amazing minds, and we want to kind of keep that going, right? So that's what I do. Why do I do it? Because you know that expression when you see people talk, and go, hey, I've done this thing, and if I touch one life, I've done my job. That's not me. I'm like, you did a bad job, bro. Like, I want to hit 6 million people, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to somewhere, right? This is why I'm on this crazy fact. I put out 180 pieces of content every single day across all social media platforms. That's a blog, podcast, videos, short form videos, long form videos, little posts with captions on it. Every single day, 180 plus pieces of content. We do this because we want to make massive impact. And how do you do that? You take change. You make change by doing all those things. Nobody's willing to do that but me and my team, and that's why we do it. And that's how we're going to make the change. One of the biggest things we're focusing on at the moment is basically we did this deep dive into what is the biggest issue facing autistic people through the community. And they all said the same thing. They said, we're all lonely. I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's like thousands of people told me that they're all lonely. I thought, if I get these people in a room together, they wouldn't be so lonely, right? So I'm on a mission right now to lower the kind of high rates of short life expectancy for autistic individuals, because that's the thing, which is kind of morbid, but we'll go past that. But by making a community together. So I'm going to be putting on my own events. Like I said, I put one on in Canada, which was crazy good. And everyone had a good time. And we also gave them free food, which is dope. Food's always, I know, right? Food's always a winner, isn't it? Like, it's free food. It was like, I'm there. So it's really good. So keep everything fun and moving on. And that's what I do. But if anyone does want to reach out to me or work with me or anything like that, you can always just email me. No problem at all. Okay, so I have a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, which is now just, autism spectrum disorder, and probably soon to be autism spectrum condition, because people are obsessed with like nomenclature, right? It's nuts. Like, people argue on my Facebook all the time. They're like, you can't use that term. How's autism with autism? I don't care. That doesn't change anything. What are you doing to change the lives of people? You know what I'm doing right now? I'm setting up an event to raise money to buy iPads for kids on the autism spectrum who are nonverbal, so we can actually get them access to communicate. That's making impact. That's nothing to do with nomenclature. That's about taking action and making a change. So I just want to reiterate again, I don't care if someone uses the term with autism, has autism, autistic. So what? It doesn't make any difference. It probably changes when you change from different languages. It changes, right? Because those linking words are different everywhere in the world. So it doesn't make a difference. Just think about this, okay, before we use politics. Honestly, people waste time and energy talking about like nomenclature. I'm like, what are you doing? This is not making a difference. It's making you look like an idiot. Anyway, that's my rant over. And I love everyone. Don't get me wrong. When everyone does complain to me about nomenclature, I say, sounds like you're having a bad day, bro. I'm here if you need to speak to me, honestly. And it just gets all rallied. Why you talk to me like that? I'm like, because I do care, Anyway, that's that. So PDA, this is interesting. Who knows what PDA is? It's not public display of affection. I'm on about pathological demand avoidance, right? We heard about it? Okay. Pathological demand avoidance, really interesting, actually. And I came across it because when I was having I've had two diagnoses. I have an updated diagnosis. I wanted to go through a process, because one of the things that we were doing with my business is we were trying to make access to online diagnosis more accessible, affordable worldwide. So we partnered with a company, and we're currently still going through the process to create an extremely affordable online autism diagnosis, right, for people, which is done via Zoom and all that kind of stuff. And when I went through this process to test it, and by the way, guys, one of the main goals of the reason to doing this is that I think an adult assessment will be something like $400, which is about 300 quid, and then a kid's one will be like $200, which is like 160 quid or something like that. It's very, very cheap and very affordable. But it's global, and it's well, I'm just gonna leave the computer blank or whatever. So yeah, anyway, the reason we're doing that is because every month we then get like a scholarship where we are having one of the psychiatrists or psychologists actually give a diagnosis away for free, so we can actually give people who are in poorer conditions access to actually get a diagnosis, which is really interesting. Okay, again, making impact, making a difference. This is how we do it. We do the things that people don't do, because that's all the things that people won't do. Who wants to give up their time, right? I want us to like schmooze people and be like, you give up an hour of your time a month, that'd be great. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So they're in. So that's how we do it, making a change, making a difference. Really important. This is not my slide, but how cool is HDMI 2? I'm joking. Give it up, HDMI 2. Okay. If anybody didn't get any of my social media handles, I'll put that back on in a minute, but I don't know who's in charge of tech in here. I feel like I'm on my own in here. I can do anything. Let's talk about, I don't know, ice cream. Anyway, I'm joking. PDA. So for pathological demand avoidance, when I was going through this diagnostic process, the guy was like, you have PDA. I was like, what the hell does that mean? He was like, it's pathological demand avoidance. I was like, what does that mean? He said, well, when you are faced with a situation where somebody says, you need to do this, I go, yeah, right. And they're like, what do you mean? He said, well, yeah, somebody says to you, like, Dan, what? I need you to go over there and do that. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Why? I have no idea, but I'm not going to do it. It's like weird. It's like a compulsion, right? To like go against the grain. Like, it's kind of like the whole thing. Like, you should change your name to the autism world. Like, no, that's not pathological demand avoidance. It's because you're an idiot. No, I'm joking. But still, the same kind of thing. You have almost like a compulsion to instantly reject the things being asked of you. Why? Really interesting, right? And I'm going to get into that. But it impacts people in many ways, especially children. And it's really more prominent in children. Like, you see kids, you'd be like, come on, brush your teeth. No. Why? I don't know. It's like, well, there's no reason for you. Get in the bath. No. When they're in the bath, get out of the bath. No. It's like, we didn't want to go in the first place. So like, how does that make any sense? Because this is pathological demand avoidance, right? what happens is, and this is kind of really simple kind of way of thinking about it. If you're an autistic person or you have an autistic mind, right, and your brain is working different, like phenotype group is different, neurological paths are all kind of different, right, which is awesome. Different doesn't mean like bad, right? It just means different. It's awesome. I love that. And you have all these things going on. It's like the smell of the room, the lights in the room, the amount of people in the room, the temperature of the room, the way my socks feel on my feet right now, the way the floor feels through my shoes. All those things are happening right now. So if anything is to be asked of me, could just be too much, right? Which is where pathological mind avoidance comes in. So you're already dealing with all of this going on right now, which a lot of people just take for granted because they're just like, whatever. Some guy rocked up in shorts like, oh, cold. I cover a shorts. I'm like, oh man, the shorts are itchy. It's cold. I need it. And I'm thinking, I need to get a drink. Where am I going to get a drink from? Do I have money on me? Is there a cafe close? What kind of drink would they have? If they don't have almond milk, am I going to be able to drink? You know what I mean? All these things are going on in my mind constantly, 100 miles an hour all the time, constantly. So if anybody asks anything of me that isn't in that kind of like current list of things that's going on in my head, it's a no, right? Pathological demand avoidance. It's pretty simple, but it does lead to something very, very interesting. You guys know what the word inertia means? No? Inertia? Yeah? Wait, my man. Okay, so inertia is a tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged, which is really interesting. So there is a moment of inertia in all kinds of things. And Mr. Computer Man, hey, it keeps going blank, so I just left it because, yeah.
I'm just trying to stop you taking a few minutes.
Legend. What's your name?
Andrew.
All right, give it up for Andrew. All right. Pretend he's not here though, okay? So no clapping. Thanks, Andrew. Oh, Mr. Invisible. Okay, so the moment of inertia. This is really interesting, and this is a big thing right now for me because I'm doing a lot of information on this. So the moment of inertia is really interesting. It's the typical classic autism, right? Where you go, I'm hyper focused on something and I cannot change what I'm doing. I'm just going to do this whole thing now for like 6 years. Like that's my thing. Like I remember once I was obsessed with UFOs and aliens and all this kind of stuff, right? And so I was like, I remember just falling asleep on my keyboard and waking up and then just being like, weird. And then just carrying on, no concept of what day it was, what time it was. Like, oh man, to be young, yeah. And so I was like, yeah, that's kind of the moment of inertia. I couldn't detach from that thing I was doing because I was just so invested in it. And my mind was going 1,000 miles an hour because I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, because I was getting massive amounts of dopamine, right? Which is basically what all autism and ADHD people are wanting all the time is dopamine, feeling of like awesomeness. Like it's a little reward. It's like having a treat. It's kind of like Pavlov's dogs, right? You get a bit of dopamine when you do something you enjoyed. Yeah, I like it. Aliens, more dopamine. Let's go. So we survive on dopamine, chasing dopamine. But the same could be said in the opposite, where I run a company, right? Tau Media, my company. We're doing all these things, doing events, doing keynote talks, flying all over the world, doing all these things, writing books, doing courses, coaching people. Oh my goodness, you name it, we do it. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I go to my office and I'm like, whoa, I have so many things to do. Yeah, I'm not going to do any of those. And I have no intentions. I'm looking at all my list to do. I'm like, yeah, this is somebody else's problem. This is not mine. And then I was sitting there like guilty, like, oh man, if I don't do these things, I'm letting all these people down and all these things are going to happen, but I'm still not able to do it. And there's no amount of pushing or forcing me to do it that would ever get it to be done. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So this is called the autism or ADHD inertia effect. This happens like both ways, right? Where you want to start something, but you can't, or you're doing something and you want to come off it and you can't. And it's really interesting. Hence why a lot of autistic individuals or ADHD individuals may be addicted to things, right? Like could be sweets or drugs in some respect, could be alcohol, smoking, even pornography. It happens a lot, especially with ADHD people. And it's because of this kind of like, they get so much dopamine from it, they just can't detach from it because it's just like on this constant dopamine high, right? Which is this moment of inertia where they're like, I really want to do something else, but smoking's just so dope. You know what I mean? So like, it's not, by the way, smoking's bad. So it's vaping, so stop it. No, I don't know if vaping's bad or not. I have no idea. I'm a chemist though, so I will tell you that smoking is bad. There you go, my public service announcement. Yeah, don't do it, okay? You don't smoke, do you, Andrew? Wait, no, he's not here. Anyway, okay, so, I'm only joking. Oh, thanks, did it work? That's not it. What's going on? We've got 156, 50, okay, whatever. Okay, so, the moment of inertia. How do we overcome this? It was really interesting. So I've delved into kind of like every way possible to figure out how can I overcome this moment of inertia? How can I do all these things that I want to do in my life? Because we're all just kind of floating about wanting to do loads of things, but nobody can ever get anything done, right? So it's actually easier to come to the end of something that you're obsessed with. So the first example I gave you of like the inability to do something or unchanged events, like so you're I don't know, working on a project, but that project will finally come to an end, or you'll burn out. Like you'll like get all the dopamine you want from that thing, and it'll be like, okay, it's done with now. Okay, I've built that Lego castle. We're all good, right? And that's a good thing. But the opposite is even harder to kind of overcome, because you're wanting to take that first step, and everything starts with the first step, right? Like people always say to me, like, how do you have 250,000 subscribers on YouTube? I said, well, I started with none. So it just takes that step. You got to kind of put some work into it, and you'll get there eventually. And that's kind of another example as well. People about inertia. People say, I want to do this thing. I want to be a social media influencer. You know, every kid now. You say, what do you want to do? Yeah, stop. Pauses Roblox. What? It's like, what do you want to do with your life? They're like, oh, I want to be a social media person or Instagrammer, right? Or a YouTuber, which is weird, because when I tell them that's what I do for a job, they're like, what? And then it's funny. So I'm like, okay, so what are you doing to do that? And they're like, no, nothing. So it's really funny. That's kind of an idea of the inertia. Like you're wanting to do stuff, but you can't get yourself to do that. And there are ways to trick your mind to get you to do that. And we'll go through those now as well, because this is actionable takeaways, because we're making impact. Awesome. So inertia. I was like thinking to myself, well, I can't not do my work, because like my income's going to just tank, and then like all these people who depend on me are going to just absolutely fail, and it's going to be a big old mess. So that's not what I want to do. So I do believe, though, that inertia, or the moment of inertia, is the biggest forgotten part of PDA within autism, right? Because nobody talks about this. Nobody's sitting there thinking like, oh man, I need to help this person with their inertia issues, right? They're just kind of like, come on, Larry. Oh, who called Larry? All right, come on, Larry. Get off the iPad, man. It's time for bed. And they're like, I can't get off the iPad. Meltdown happens. Go to bed. No. Get in the bath. No. Oh. And we're back to that again, right? And so we don't think about an issue of something that we go, okay, can we help overcome these issues, or can we put things that are in place to help kind of, overcome these issues in general? So what I've done is I've kind of like written down kind of like a couple of tactics to kind of overcome PDA in general, and then more towards inertia, which we're going to go through for my own time. Yeah, I'm on time. Cool. And I'll take some questions at the end as well. If anyone asks questions, you can stack them up and just fire questions at me like I'm some kind of clown of the circus. Like, come on. Wait, I am a clown. But that's not a circus. Funny. Anyway, I don't know. Honestly, ADHD, I could see it talk about anything, honestly. So, where am I? This is professional of me. I've got all my notes on my phone, so I'm like, I'm not texting, by the way. I'm not like, oh, see these people in here. Andrew's awesome. Sorry, he's not here. Damn it. Okay, so I need to get some water, actually. I'm dying here. Is anybody else really hot in this room, or is it just me? Because I'm just jumping around like an idiot. No, you're not hot. Oh, yeah, you are. I don't know. It's confusion. Yeah? Yeah? Oh, got it. All right. I did have water in here. Oh, I do have water. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go through ways to help with PDA. And this is not... hold on, give me a sec. Can I put the microphone down, okay? Small silence. I said silence. I jokes. All right, here we go. God, really flimsy ball of water. Definitely wasn't worth £1.50 or whatever the hell I paid for it. Mad, isn't it? Selling tap waters here like crazy rain. You're basically just buying a bottle of plastic. Right, anyway. Yeah, funny, isn't it? George's funny. People say that autistic people aren't capable of abstract thinking. Have you heard that? You've heard that, right? No, abstract thought. And I'm like, oh, mate, I'm the opposite. I'm like walking down the street. I'm like, whoa, look at this thing on the floor. What is it? Where did it come from? Who made it? What can I do with it? If I take it home, could I repurpose it? I wonder if I could repurpose it, would it still work? Would I be able to repurpose it, then resell it? I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, no abstract thought. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot. So funny, isn't it? And this is another thing, because last year I did a talk. I was in this same kind of building, but I did a talk on the 3 misunderstood things about autism. Really interesting. One of the biggest ones: autistic people, they have no emotional regulation. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's different. Like, they feel like you don't feel anything. Like when somebody says, like, I don't know, your budgie died. People bring, oh, budgie's dead. An autistic person, budgie's died. Huh. It's like, what? But it's not because they don't understand it. It's because they feel logically about it. Of course the budgie was going to die. He was like, I don't know, 13. What's the average lifespan of a budgie? Like 5 years or something? Of course he's going to die. I mean, the thing was decrepit. I mean, it makes no difference. Like, it's not because I'm not sad. Of course I'm sad, but I feel it internally, but I'm logically thinking about it. It's not like, oh, budgie's dead. I don't care. That's not what it is. But it's really interesting. Anyway, getting back to PDA. Sorry for the break. Oh, I love it, honestly. Okay, so the first thing is, water on my beard. First thing is understanding behaviors. A lot of people don't even know that they're hitting this moment of inertia because they're like, this is my life. I can't be motivated to do anything, which is completely nonsense. You're all motivated to do stuff. You know, one of the things a lot of autistic individuals are like, They're like, I have no motivation to do anything. And you go to their room, it's full of like rocks they found on the beach. Like, well, you're motivated to carry rocks like 6 miles home. You know what I mean? Like, so there's not a lack of motivation. What is it? Ooh, it's PDA. So it's understanding the behavior, understanding that it's not a lack of motivation. It's not a fact of laziness. And I'll say this again. So this example I'm giving you about collecting rocks, this is a real example. Somebody said to me, Dad, I have a question. I was like, okay, I can't remember where I was talking now. They said, my son collects rocks. It's an autism special interest. I was like, okay, cool. But he's hoarding them, right? Okay, what? Hoarding them? Yeah. His room's full of rocks, smelly rocks on the beach, anywhere. Anywhere he finds a rock, it's a rock. Whoa, look at this rock. And he takes a rock home, puts another rock in his room's full of all these rocks. And it looks like a quarry, you know? And I was like, oh, that sounds great. And they're like, no, I hate it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me tell you something interesting about it. They're not hoarding. How many people think that autistic individuals should hoard stuff because they want to be around other things? Because there's a difference here, okay? People have this notion that autistic individuals will collect things of a special interest because it's like Mario Kondo, where it sparks a bit of joy, right? And you have these things around them to make it spark joy, which is nonsense. That's nothing to do with it. What it actually is when you are thinking about scholastics and learning, or the application of learning, which is what scholastics is. And if you don't know the word scholastics, it's where the word school comes from. So the understanding of learning something in a certain environment. And how autistic people do it is they don't learn in the same way, or the typical way that typical people will learn. Sit down at a desk and write stuff until it sticks in your brain so you can regurgitate it in an exam. What we actually have is the apparent of mass. And what this means is, if we were working on a car engine, if I said to you like, okay guys, this is lesson 101, car engines. We don't have one in the room. We're going to learn about it. You'd be like, Dan, you're an idiot. How are you supposed to learn about something we have no in front of us? I'm like, okay. But if I took you in a room and said, each one of you has a car engine in front of you, we're going to take it apart piece by piece and look individually at everything. We're going to touch it, we're going to smell it, we're going to feel everything about it. Now you're going to learn, because what you have is tactile feedback through learning environment, right? There's resonance that happens through tactile feedback. That is exactly what's happening when these people are hoarding information. They're actually filling their learning environment with tactile feedback and stimulation response from actual physical mass. Interesting, right? So the rocks, not a hoarding exercise, as some may think. It's actually an ability to learn on a different scale, because I'm guarantee that kid's going to be a geologist, because geology rocks. See, I knew it'd be comedy in here. Andrew, you're laughing, man. What a guy. Oh shit, he's not here. Okay. So understanding behaviors. The first part about the PDA thing is going, okay, well, this is the issue that I'm facing. What is it? Understanding, okay, it is pathological avoidance. It's inertia. Okay, now I know that I'm in an inertia rut, right? It's not that I'm unmotivated, because imagine that. Imagine telling yourself every day, I'm unmotivated. I have a lack of focus, lack of concentration. It's going to do something to you. It's going to make you feel that. So when I go running, this is interesting. When I go running, I'm like, I love running because I got ADHD. This is a true story. This is how I wrote my book. So I got a book out called Autism for Adults. And if you're an adult on the spectrum, definitely check it out. I'm not trying to sell it to you because I actually don't get any money from it, because if anyone's had a book published, you know, the book publishers are a big ripoff. Anyway, but I needed to get the book out to a wider audience to help make impact. That's what we're talking about. So they were like, book publishers came to me, they were like, Dan, yeah, write a book. I was like, okay, cool. We're going to give you until November next year to write the book. It's about 8 to 9 months. I was like, give me 2 weeks. I'll give you a book in 2 weeks. They're like, what are you talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, well, how can you write a book in 2 weeks? I was like, well, if I can't write a book in 2 weeks, how am I the one to write the book if I don't know what I'm talking about? And they were like, all right. So this is how I did it. So Cocky Dan was like, okay, sit at my desk, write a book. So I sat at my desk and I was like, I have autism ADHD. So I'm just like walking around my desk. Can't sit down. Can't sit still. Oh my goodness. And then like something happens outside, go straight to the window, look out the window. In 8 hours, I completed 0 words, none at all. And I was like, shit, maybe I'm a bit too ambiguous. Maybe I do need that in 8 months, right? How am I gonna, not even a full stop. My man knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so then I was on a run, because I love running, right? Because I got mega ADHD, so I'm like on a run. I have to run every single day, so I'm running. And when I'm on a run, I'm listening to audiobooks, because this gives me tactile feedback, physical response that goes into my legs, and I'm like, yeah, and I learned that way. That's how I read, because I've got dyslexia as well, so I can't read books as a typical person would read books. So I have to listen to books. And by the way, guys, read more books. The average person reads less than 1 book a year. Crazy statistic, right? So do it. I read about 6. I digest about 6 a month. Really awesome. Anyway, get a heads up on everybody else by reading books. So there's me running, and I was like, well, if I can learn this way, maybe I could also write my book this way. If I could run on a treadmill and write a book, that would be dope. So I was like, yes, I'd like, come on, cleared my desk. I was like, quick, get Amazon, give me a treadmill. So I ordered a treadmill, got a treadmill in the house. Treadmill's set in the corner, boom, okay, got it. Then I got my phone, And because I'm dyslexic, obviously typing can take forever. And guys, look, am I going to sit down and type for an hour? No. I'm going to sit still to eat my dinner. So I was like, okay, I'm going to run on treadmill for an hour every day for 2 weeks. And I'm going to talk to my phone and tell them everything I want to put in my book, which I did do. And then I got it all and I checked it into an app called Grammarly. And I just made sure it was like punctually correct, all right? And I just sent it to our publisher. They were like, holy shoot. That was 2 weeks. I was like, yeah, I'd write your book in a week if I wasn't ADHD. And they were like, oh, okay. So that's how I did my book. So I've forgotten why I was even telling you that story, but it was really good, wasn't it? But behavior is really cool. But yeah, the same as the tactile response. So when I want to run, there you go. When I want to run, one of the things I say to myself is, I'm unstoppable, right? And I say to myself every time I repeat, I'm like, I'm unstoppable. Unstoppable. I'm kind of like Rocky Balboa, just going through the streets. People will pass me. I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm unstoppable, man. And like, why do I do that? Not because I have this kind of delusion of grandeur, or this inherent kind of self-belief that Donald Trump has to be amazing. I have this idea that if I tell myself something enough times, if I give myself that opportunity to surround myself with that thing that I am, then I'll become what I say I am, right? Kind of like when I write down my goals at night, all right? Like, I am successful in blah, 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 or I have this. Because you write it in the way that you tell your brain you already have those things. So you urge yourself towards that existence, right? Really interesting. Good way of doing it. Anyway, so if you're surrounding yourself every day saying like, I can't do this, I'm unmotivated, I have a lack of focus, you're going to become lack of focus, you're going to become motivated, and it's going to go crap. So yeah, understanding behavior and realizing that it's inertia then allows you to go, oh, okay, I can breathe with it. It's not me, it's the thing that's happening. And then adjusting your mindset. That's what you do. You adjust your mindset. Okay, it's inertia. So what do I do about it? I'm not going to sit here and stoop and go, I can't do this. Because you'll never do it, right? Quitters never win. And winners never quit. That whole thing, yada, yada, yeah, I get it. So we change our mindset and then we optimize the environment. I just told you my vision of the book writing, okay? Similar to inertia. Well, after I realized I couldn't write a single letter because I was just like too hyped, I could write a book. Run around like, I'm going to write a book. And I was like, okay, do it. I'm like, shit, can't. So because of that, I adjusted my environment. I optimized it. Optimization means creating something that it takes you to succession. So my environment was rubbish, right? I was sitting at a desk in the traditional way of doing it. I might as well have a quill and some ink, some shit. So then I was like, no, I'm going to get my iPad and my iPhone because I'm like, millennial and stuff. And I'm going to go on the treadmill and, And so I optimized my environment, changing it. Think about it like that. And I was talking to some ladies outside about problems versus solutions. And I think about things like this. I don't have problems in my life. I have potential towards solutions. When you change that mindset of realizing that a problem can only exist because the solution exists. That's why we know it's a problem in the first place, right? Like up and down, black and white. We all know the opposite exists. So just change the way you think about it. It's not a problem-based issue you're looking at. It's a potential towards a solution. So think about that. Optimize the environment. Yeah, reducing the amount of demands that are on you already. So when inertia hits, because it's a pathological demand avoidance issue, it's probably because you have so many demands on you already. It's just like, I can't take any more. It's like kind of filling up a glass that's already full. It's just spilling out all over the place, isn't it? So get rid of some of those demands. If you can lower demands within your environment, within your life, do that because it will actually help reduce the amount of kind of pressure or the demand on you. And then you'll be able to kind of move forward through inertia. But we'll go through that as well in a minute. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to rush this because I think I'll stay on time. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Supporting sensory needs. This is something that nobody does. Nobody takes sensory breaks. Nobody takes regular sensory breaks. But if you do take regular sensory breaks, what will happen is allow your mind to just reset itself a little bit. And by sensory break, I don't mean like, I don't know, sit in a sensory room or go to like a sensory play area. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like go to a part of your house or a room or somewhere that is a different temperature, a different sound, different smell, just to lower the sensory stimuli from the current situation you're in. If you practice this regularly, you'll get a lot more accustomed to kind of having that nice flow of kind of, okay, now I can do something else. Or, oh, it's not as pressured in that environment. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to go through the good ones here because I want to get through everything and not be cut off on time. And support and emotional well-being. So autistic individuals have issues with emotional regulation. We've already discussed this, but it's not that. It's actually knowing this one thing, and this hopefully should be a really good takeaway everyone can understand or pass it on to somebody else. So emotion comes from the word energy in motion, right? So autistic individuals have a problem with understanding the motion that they put from energy. We all feel something inherently like, I'm angry or sad or whatever, or they don't have chicken nuggets. Get out of the restaurant. Chicken nuggets, vegan ones for me though. And so the problem is the connection between energy and motion. How do we do that? How do we create emotion? Inherently, people just go, yeah, I'm sad. Although I'm happy. Woo! But autistic individuals go, I feel something, but I'm not sure how to put that energy that I'm feeling into motion. And that's all you need to think about. How am I going to express this energy through motion? And that's it. If you can do that, if you practice this, you'll have like a sacral response to how you can then change your relationship to emotional regulation, because it's just that all emotional regulation is knowing that this energy is going to be put into motion in a certain way. Like if you're angry, am I going to punch somebody? I don't know, maybe. But it's knowing that you're going to do that. Okay, don't punch anybody. Okay, I didn't say that. And smoking's bad. That's right, Andrew. So that's that. Okay, so I want to talk about ways to help autism inertia. Really, really simple ways to kind of overcome this. Because and this is interesting. Not just autistic people face this inertia issue. People in general will face this inertia issue. But autistic individuals will face it on a greater level because of the PDA that comes along with it. Also, sorry for talking so fast. I do have ADHD. I am medicated, so I mean, goodness knows what would happen if I wasn't. If I was sitting on the ceiling talking to you upside down or something. I don't know. So ways to help. Awareness to the fact that, inertia exists. So tell people like, oh, I can't do this task because I am having an inertia issue at the moment. So can you please just give me some grace, right? Asking for that grace of just being like, oh, can you just give me a minute? Like, I'm having this issue right now. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you're lack of focus or you're a rubbish person or anything like that. It just means that you have this current issue that you're going to solve because it's not a problem. It's a potential source solution. And they need to just accept that, because people do have to accept who you are, because that's an awesome thing, right? And if they don't accept who you are, get rid of them. Okay, so this is how we do it. This is exactly how I got rid of my inertia issues. So I was like, okay, well, I have all these things going on in my mind, and I have all these things and tasks, and I come to my desk, and there's so many things. And so what I do is this. I say, okay, well, I'll tell you what. Just forget everything. I'll write all of the things that I have to do down, right, in a big list. And I realized, there's only 5 things there anyway. But it seems like more when it's in your head, right? Because you're like, oh, it's this daunting task. I have this huge list of 3 things. Oh. So then you write down 3 things. And then look at the list. I say, which one of these is going to be most rewarding to do straight away, right? Which one of these things, if I could get rid of one of these things off my list straight away, which one would be most rewarding to me? Which one will give me most dopamine, the best kind of return? I take that one piece off the list and I put it on a new piece of paper. And then I go, right, this has to be done by when? And I give it a date, like a time, deadline. Bang, that's the deadline, right? And so already we're moving through inertia, right? Because we're not participating in the act of doing the task. We're planning to create the issue to get rid of that bit of the task. And so we say, this is what it is. This is the deadline I need to do it by. And what you have to do now, and this is the fun part actually, you say, well, to achieve this, what are the steps that I need to take? What are the individual steps I need to take? And it might have 20 individual steps. It could have 3, it could have 4, who knows? I'll write down each individual step that it's going to take to achieve that. Like, I don't know, I want to buy a new car, right? I need to get a new car. Well, the first thing I need to do is earn enough money to get a car. How do I look for a job? How do I get a job? I need to send my CV places and chase up, get a job. Okay, cool. Take it. And this is how we do it. Once you have a list of all the actionable items that you're going to do by that date, take one of those and just do one of them every single day. As long as you just do one a day, it's called compounding, right? It will kind of build up to that moment. And then you'll realize that you'll be able to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 a day. And the moment of inertia is gone. And that is the key to overcoming autism inertia. But this is a good trick that anyone could use. Okay, I want to take some questions really quickly before I get kicked off this not stage. That's if anyone has any questions. But if